This is a Nightline Friday night special.
He admitted killing his wife and children.
I am stunned that this had happened. I'm saddened that there was this tragedy.
He said he would go out and kill as many people as he could, and then he went out and did it.
It is something I didn't think he had in him.
The authorities remain convinced he killed for the first time years ago, but he denied committing those murders to the end.
They had absolutely no proof back then that he had committed the offense.
Tonight, last words. A murderer confesses, but did he tell the whole truth?
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
He noted the time to the minute, 6:38 yesterday morning. Mark Barton wrote 3 brief notes and a letter. The notes were left on the bodies of his wife and 2 children. They read like introductions, whether to the person who would find the bodies or to the Almighty, it's hard to say. Quote, I give you my wife, Leanne Vandiver Barton, my honey, my precious love. Please take care of her. I will love her forever. I give you Matthew David Barton, my son, my buddy, my life. Please take care of him. I give you Michelle Elizabeth Barton, my daughter, my sweetheart, my life. Please take care of her. The letter was addressed to whom it may concern. Leanne is in the master bedroom closet under a blanket. I killed her on Tuesday night. I killed Matthew and Michelle Wednesday night. Barton describes the murders in some detail. There was little pain, he wrote. All of them were dead in less than 5 minutes. I hit them with a hammer in their sleep and put them face down in a bathtub to make sure that they did not wake up in pain, to make sure they were dead. Later, Barton explains why he killed his children, to exchange them for 5 minutes of pain for a lifetime of pain. I forced myself to do it to keep them from suffering so much later. No mother, no father, no relatives. The fears of the father are transferred to the son. It was from my father to me, and from me to my son. He already had it, and now to be left alone, I had to take him with me. I killed Leanne because she was one of the main reasons for my demise, as I planned to kill the others. It seems here that Barton may have been writing about the people he would shoot yesterday, because he ends his letter by saying, I don't plan to live very much longer, just long enough to kill as many of the people that greedily sought my destruction. You should kill me if you can. Signed, Mark O. Barton. There was one other intriguing message in the letter. Early on, Barton wrote, there may be similarities between these deaths and the death of my first wife, Deborah Spivey. However, I deny killing her and her mother. There's no reason for me to lie now. Barton had been a principal suspect in the murders of his first wife and mother-in-law nearly 6 years ago. He had taken out $600,000 worth of life insurance on his wife shortly before her murder. And as you may have heard on this program last night, the insurance company didn't want to pay. And Barton's lawyer, Michael Hauptman, who joined us last night, won a settlement of $450,000.
I am stunned that this had happened. I'm saddened that there was this tragedy. However, I still believe he was innocent of the crime in Alabama.
Really?
They had absolutely no proof back then that he had committed the offense. In fact, they had another suspect who's presently in custody in Indiana that had confessed to the killings.
But they never charged that person with that crime, did they?
And they did not.
I beg your pardon?
No, they did not.
I'm astonished at what you're saying here. Here's a man who today shot 9 people. A couple of days ago, shot his second wife or killed his second wife and 2 children. I don't know if he shot them. 4 days before his previous wife and mother-in-law are found, he takes out a $600,000 life insurance policy on his wife, and you don't think he had anything to do with it?
Absolutely not. I think he was devastated by the fact that she was killed back then. He was horrified by it. And that...
Well, he said he was horrified by it.
Well, you know, I think I could tell by my dealings with him that it was something that had devastated him. The fact that the person who's in prison in Indiana was present at the scene. My client was 100 miles away with a pretty good alibi. There's a person in Indiana who's present at the scene of that murder, confessed to the murder, and had access to the type of weapon that was used in that murder, which was a very unusual type of hatchet.
Hold on 1 second. You're telling me that someone was apprehended in Indiana who confessed to this murder but has never been charged with the murder. That's passing strange, isn't it?
I'm not a prosecutor in Alabama. It's not my job to prosecute their cases.
And joining us now from Atlanta is Ben Kingery. His firm was retained by Investors Life Insurance Company of Nebraska to file suit against Mark Barton for fraud. That suit was, in fact, filed in 1995 within the 2-year statute of limitations following Deborah Spivey's murder. Why, ultimately, Mr. Kingery, did your firm settle?
Well, we also sued not only Mr. Barton, but we also joined his children as defendants. Because if the jury were to find that Mr. Barton did in fact murder his wife, but did not take this policy out with the intent to murder, the funds would go to the children. In other words, we had a twofold burden of proof. One, to prove that he murdered his wife, and secondly, to prove that when he took this policy out, he had the then present intention of committing this crime.
And I gather you also weren't altogether eager to be the big insurance company up against some of the interests of the kids.
Absolutely. We would still be litigating with Mr. Barton, but we had a feeling that that jury would have not let those kids go away without any funds.
There's that intriguing line in his letter, which I read at the end. You know, what reason do I have to lie now? Let's say he'd confessed to the crime now, or let's say he had not made that kind of a denial. Even theoretically, would your insurance company have a right to go back and try to reclaim the money?
No, we signed a mutual release where the children and Barton released the company, and we released any right to go back against Barton at a later date. No, we would not have had that right.
So, I mean, putting that into the letter, it wasn't a way of protecting anybody in the family. I mean, frankly, he'd killed the kids, so I don't know whom he would have been protecting anyway.
Right, it would be the kids' heirs, which I assume would be Mr. Spivey now.
Yeah, and he had no reason to try to protect Mr. Spivey.
Right.
Okay, I thank you very much, Mr. Kingery. It's good of you to come in. Joining us now from Douglasville, Georgia, David McDade, that county's district attorney. Mr. McDade, how do you explain, and you heard me read that line from his letter where he talks about, I mean, you know, what reason do I have to lie now? That's a fairly compelling question at this point.
It's the words of a madman. I would give them no more credence now than I would 6 years ago.
Why wasn't it pursued more aggressively than it was?
Well, it was certainly pursued aggressively from this end. I think the Alabama officials were somewhat overwhelmed by the magnitude of the investigation. I think they did the best with what they had. We would certainly have liked to have seen more, but I think they did the best with what they had that they could do.
You know, this is a question that obviously you can only speculate on, I can only speculate on, but you're in a better position to do so than I. If a little more attention had been paid at the time, we probably wouldn't be confronting what we confronted yesterday and what happened earlier in this week. Is that fair to say?
If enough evidence had been developed by the Alabama authorities to arrest Mr. Barton, I believe your assumption is correct. Mr. Barton would not be on the street.
You heard what Mr. Barton's attorney told me last night, having to do with a suspect in Indiana. Do you know anything about him?
No. Mr. Hauptman's a colorful character. He's a friend of mine, but he's a defense attorney. I would want to hear concrete information from a reliable source in law enforcement. I don't believe there's any other suspect that's ever reached the level of Mr. Barton. Mr. Barton has remained until his death the prime and the only suspect in those murders.
Now, we'll have Mr. Hauptman on again a little bit later in this broadcast. Unless I'm mistaken, I think it's his impression that you told him about this suspect in Indiana.
Absolutely incorrect. Absolutely incorrect.
So as far as you know, there is no such person? No one has confessed to the crime?
Absolutely not to my knowledge.
Has there ever been anybody other than Mr. Barton who was suspected in this case?
I think in an investigation of this source, of this type, you don't exclude anyone, but you take you where your evidence leads you, and in this case the evidence and the circumstantial evidence quickly surrounded Mr. Barton and never left him.
Why was he not indicted?
That question is best left to the Alabama prosecutors, but candidly, they made the determination they didn't have sufficient evidence to indict him, and that's a decision they have to make based upon their evaluation of the evidence in Alabama law. I don't question their decision. They can't manufacture evidence, and in a circumstantial evidence case, it can be difficult.
There was another charge at one point that was brought against Mr. Barton, I understand, by his daughter. You want to tell us about that?
Several months after the death of Mr. Barton's first wife, his daughter, Michelle, who was then 2.5 years old, reported to a daycare worker that she had been fondled or molested by Mr. Barton, and a Child Protective Services investigation was initiated. But remember, the child was 2.5 years old, and that investigation did not result in sufficient evidence for the Child Protective Service Agency to bring a formal charge against Mr. Barton.
But he was interviewed by a psychologist or a psychiatrist, I understand, and if you could just quickly tell me what his evaluation was.
The psychologist interviewed his children to prepare a report for defects at the Department of Family and Children's Services, and as a corollary to that investigation, the psychologist interviewed Mr. Barton and reported orally to the defects caseworker and myself that he felt confident that Mr. Barton was certainly capable of having committed the homicides in Alabama, and reported that as part of his findings.
Does that come back with a particular chilling effect to you now?
Absolutely.
Mr. McDade, I thank you. It's good of you to come in and join us.
Thank you, sir.
We invited investigators from Alabama to participate in this program tonight. They declined. When we come back, a man who has been investigating the Alabama murders for 6 years.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Mitsubishi.
When you were a kid, did you carry a lunchbox? Who was on it? Was it Sir Isaac Newton? Was it Abraham Lincoln? Or was it the A-Team? Introducing the new, redesigned 2000 Mitsubishi Montero Sport. We pity the fool who would drive anything else.
Introducing Benecol.
My doctor said I need to watch my cholesterol, but it's hard.
Now there's new hope for millions of people concerned about their cholesterol. Benecol. It's a completely new kind of product used in place of butter or margarine. Studies show that Benecol actually helps promote healthy cholesterol levels, and it can start to work in as little as 2 weeks.
It really tastes good. And it's good for my cholesterol?
Benecol isn't just low in cholesterol, it actually promotes healthy cholesterol levels.
Now available.
Sunday on This Week with Sam Donaldson and Cokie Roberts.
Another deadly shooting. Can gun laws help? Plus the showdown over tax cuts, ABC Sunday.
My name is Bernhard Langer, and for a long time my life was golf, golf, and more golf. I'd won 7 tournaments in 1 year, was ranked #1 in the world. I had a beautiful young wife, but there was something missing. Until one day another golfer helped me find the way to a personal relationship with God. I discovered the personal faith that changed my life forever and brought me more fulfillment than any golf victory ever could. If there's something missing from your life, you should read this wonderful book. It's called Powerful Living, and it's yours absolutely free. It provides real and lasting solutions to life's everyday problems by leading you toward a personal relationship with God, a relationship that saved my life.
To get your free copy of Power for Living, just call this toll-free number. There's no risk, no obligation, and no one will call.
Call today and begin to change your life for the better.
And joining me now from Lubbock, Texas, Captain Jerry Wynn, Douglas County Sheriff. You're absolutely convinced he did it. When I say it, I mean those murders of his first wife and mother-in-law in Alabama, these 6 years ago now.
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Why are you so convinced of that?
Show so.
I beg your pardon?
I believe the evidence shows that.
Which evidence?
The crime scene in Alabama, all the anger was directed towards the wife. There was less injuries to the mother-in-law than there was the wife. It was a staged crime scene. There was purses dumped all over the room, a pistol left laying on the counter, cash money left there on the floor. That was the beginning that would make you think that he's involved, just because of all the anger directed towards the wife.
Now, having said that, clearly if the authorities in Alabama had found the evidence, there was no reason for them not to indict him, right?
Well, my district attorney is probably more of an aggressive district attorney than theirs. You can present a case to a grand jury anytime you want to. You choose either to present the case or not to present the case. The case could have been presented if Alabama's law is anything like Georgia law is.
But what about physical evidence? I mean, beyond what you're talking about is interesting, but it's not dispositive, as the lawyers would say. Was there any blood evidence? Did they ever find a weapon?
They found blood evidence at the home. Now, I don't know what the results of the tests were. They indicated that someone had thrown up at the crime scene. You know, you can do DNA of the saliva. There's evidence in Macon they didn't pursue. They informed me they had some narcotic cases they had to complete, and they couldn't stay over that night. They were particularly the night that they were here, which was the night after the funeral, and go to Macon and do some more work.
What was it that they could have looked at in Macon that you're talking about?
Well, in the interviews that I conducted with some witnesses in Macon and Warner Robins, it was learned that Mark and Leanne were at a restaurant entertaining guests or eating supper with other people when Mark had his arm around Leanne and told the guests there, the other people in their party, that he was going to be with Leanne by October. Now, this was in June.
Now, Leanne was the second wife. That was the wife he murdered this week.
Right, and at that time it was the girlfriend. And he told his friends he would be with Leanne, they would be together by October, and this was in June. And of course, I believe it was July or August when he purchased the additional $600,000 worth of life insurance on his present wife, then Deborah, which that just makes no sense.
What do you say to what his lawyer points to, which is the existence of this other suspect in the case, the man who allegedly confessed to the crime and actually gave some fairly interesting information about a claw hammer, the kind that a roofer would use?
Well, I don't know how much information the Alabama authorities had put on the street to where a lot of people had knowledge of that. It was in the paper. So, I mean, anybody could have read that and figured that out or talked to a neighbor. But I've been told that that person was cleared. There were witnesses that placed him elsewhere at the time the crime was committed.
So, as far as you're concerned, it was never a doubt. I mean, I gather you were quite aggressive at times, that you followed Mr. Barton around, you told him that you were going to nail him one of these days, is that right?
I looked him in the eye and told him at least 6 times that, Mark, you killed your wife, you killed your mother-in-law. And instead of, you know, if you say that to someone that's not guilty, you get a response of anger. He didn't react. He listened. He was listening when he should have been angry at me. If I accuse you of doing something like that, you haven't done it. You know, you should be mourning. You should be upset. And he wasn't upset at all.
Well, I mean, he clearly seems to have been a very troubled man. There's no question about that. And even if he committed those crimes back then, does that explain what happened 6 years later, this week, to you?
I think it does. He's a very controlling, he's a very smart person. He's a very organized person. Just like in his letter when he says he didn't do it. That's just his last way of saying ha 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 to everybody else. You know, it wouldn't accomplish anything to him if he said, yeah, I killed Deborah and I killed my mother-in-law. That would not benefit him any. This leaves people just wondering.
You knew Deborah Spivey. In other words,
yes,
you were a friend of hers?
I went to school with her, elementary school. I went to school with her in junior high school.
So as far as you're concerned, this is personal?
Well, I would have worked as hard on Deborah Spivey's homicide as I would a total stranger. My point in this whole matter is a homicide, you've got to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until you're finished, until all leads are gone. You don't stop and go work other cases, as in drug cases. You don't fail to follow up leads. You know, in rural America, you're not guaranteed a true, good investigation if you're murdered, and that's a shame.
Is it over now, as far as you're concerned?
It'll never be over. It haunts you. You know, that what could have I done that maybe 12 people that died yesterday wouldn't have died?
It's the question, I guess, that's haunting everyone in this country. But Captain Wynn, I thank you very much. It was good of you to come in.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll be joined by Mark O. Barton's attorney, former attorney Michael Hauptman.
Avalon, because peace and quiet aren't going to come looking for you.
Ask your doctor about Viagra.
Traveling through Arizona, we blew a front tire, shot off the road, and I looked down at the ground. It is crawling with rattlesnakes.
It was unbelievable.
I pushed the OnStar button. Within seconds, the OnStar advisor pinpointed our location and sent a tow truck.
Call the paramedics.
Yeah, and kept talking because we
hate snakes.
Yeah.
OnStar. During the OnStar Summer of Savings, get the OnStar phone-based system and installation at no extra charge when you prepay for a year of service. Call 1-800-OnStar-7.
Coming up, a lesson in flirting.
That's the one thing I really hate about guys. I hate it when you walk by and you go hi and they go, what's that?
Politically incorrect with Bill Maher.
This weekend at Just for Feet, the world's largest athletic shoe store.
It's a 30% off store-wide sale on kids' shoes.
This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Save 30% on all kids' shoes.
Nothing's held back.
Everything's on sale.
Every single kid's shoe.
30% off.
Every name brand.
30% off.
Every style.
30% off.
Every color, every size, every sport.
Something for every kid.
Just in time for back to school.
30% off all kids' shoes.
This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Just for Feet.
Where 13th pair is free.
Is there anything better on a hot summer day than some homemade ice cream? What's your favorite kind?
Cookies and cream. Chocolate.
Hi, News 2's Neil Oren with my pals here at the Martha O'Brien Center. Chocolate, vanilla, cookies and cream. You'll find that and more at the annual Miss Martha's Ice Cream Crankin'. It's a summer tradition here in Nashville, and your admission entitles you to an afternoon of family fun. More importantly, it raises funds for the good works here at the Martha O'Brien Center.
Join us for Miss Martha's Ice Cream Crankin'. Call 254-1791 for details.
And joining us now from Atlanta, Michael Hauptman, Mark Barton's former attorney. Mr. Hauptman, yesterday you told me all about this fella in prison in Indiana who'd confessed to the crime.
That is correct.
Where'd you get that story?
When we took the deposition of the Cherokee County, Alabama's District Attorney's Office Chief Investigator, we had discovered that approximately 2 hours before the 911 call came in, a man in the campground had told one of his neighbors that earlier in the evening he had killed two women and described how he had killed the two women. The Sheriff's Department investigators went out and picked him up and asked about the crime, and essentially he told them that he had just killed these two women and that he had used a claw-type hatchet commonly used by roofers to commit the murders. He in fact drew a sketch of the hatchet for the investigators that interviewed him. He was subsequently polygraphed, and based on the fact that his confession was deemed by the polygrapher to be false, he was released from custody.
Well, I mean, let's face it, if the Alabama police, who, as we've heard previously in the program, the Alabama authorities are under a lot of pressure, they're looking for a guy, they surely want someone whom they can prosecute. If all of those things that you say happened as you tell them, it sure seems to me that they would have pressed it a little bit harder. I mean, as you said yesterday, you expressed extreme contempt for polygraphs, so why do you think they would have any more faith in them than you do?
The law enforcement community has a tremendous belief in polygraph examinations. Why they let this guy go, I have absolutely no idea. I disagree with Mr. McDade and I disagree with Mr. Wynn regarding what the law enforcement authorities in Alabama did. They not only had the aid of the Douglas County Sheriff's Department, the Douglas County, Georgia District Attorney's Office, the Alabama Bureau of Investigation was brought into this case, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation was brought into this case, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation was brought into this case. And notwithstanding all of that, they were not able to put enough evidence against Mark to even bring an indictment. Why they let somebody who had confessed 2 hours before the police knew about the murders go, you'll have to ask them. I haven't the faintest idea.
So as of this late hour, then, you're just as convinced as you've ever been that Mark Barton, who did in fact kill 12 people and himself, did not kill those 2 people?
Absolutely.
All right. I thank you once again, Mr. Huffman, for joining us. I'll be back in a moment.
Looking for a great-tasting fiber therapy that won't produce excess gas? Discover Citracel. Citracel's fiber won't ferment to produce excess gas, and people prefer the taste and texture of Citracel over Metamucil. Get effective relief without excess gas. Get Citracel.
Okay, the Hollywood Bowl. Okay, I go left on La Brea, right? No, left, right? Exit at Cahuenga, south on the 5, west on the 10, and when you see a massive sign, get off.
Before you go here. Whether locating an address or planning your route, at go.com, you find your own way.
Need brakes? Get the best in the business to install them. And a lifetime guarantee honored at every Midas nationwide. Go safely. Go Midas.
Darling, yes, the house is 100,000 more than we talked about. The location just dreamy. I'll write up the contract so we're ready. Home sweet home, sugar.
Before you go here. Whether you're researching neighborhoods or agents, at go.com, you move on your own terms.
ABC is America's broadcasting company. And ABC Sports is where more Americans come together for events that turn heroes into legends. Super Bowl 34. The Bowl Championship Series.
Touchdown for the Aggies.
U.S. and World Figure Skating Championships. The Women's World Cup. ABC Sports, part of America's broadcasting company.
1984, IHOP captured the hearts of millions with the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity. 1997, IHOP makes headlines again with the Rudy Tooty 2. 1999, a nation swoons over the announcement of the Rudy Tooty Roundup. Their credo, a Rudy Tooty for everyone. 3 breakfasts to choose from. Fruit-topped pancakes, bacon, sausage, and eggs. Starting at just $3.99, only at IHOP. It all begs the question, what's next for IHOP?
This weekend at Just for Feet, the world's largest athletic shoe store.
It's a 30% off store-wide sale on kids' shoes.
This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Save 30% on all kids' shoes.
Nothing's held back.
Everything's on sale.
Every single kid's shoe.
30% off.
Every name brand.
30% off.
Every style.
30% off.
Every color, every size, every sport.
Something for every kid.
Just in time for back to school.
30% off all kids' shoes.
This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Just for Feet.
Wear 13th pair, it's free.
Sunday on This Week with Sam Donaldson and Cokie Roberts, more on the Atlanta shootings and the debate over tax cuts. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
Nightline is always on with abcnews.com. Now part of the Go Network. If you'd like a transcript or video cassette of this or any other edition of Nightline, please dial 1-800-CALL-ABC.
Nightline has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. abcnews.com, now a part of the Go Network.
Dana Plant, private investigator, never loses sight of what's important.
I've been a detective a long time. Oh, yes, you look it. What are you, 25? I'm 31. Do I look 25?
From the creator of The Practice and Ally McBeal comes David E. Kelly's Snoops, ABC Sundays this fall.
Watch Handholds on News 2 at 5 and 6.
Good evening and welcome to Politically Incorrect. Thanks to global warming and the morons in our government who continue to ignore it, you may have noticed this week that the planet has started to incinerate. As a tribute to those who are weathering this weather, we would now like to offer this homage to the hot joke, special Washington edition. It was so hot today